Howdy, 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 everybody, and welcome to the iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship here at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. I'm Austin. I'm joined by Alessandro Dalladane with Marco Barbadera up here in the commentary booth here today, live on Apex Racing TV. Alessandro, how you doing, and how are we feeling about today?
It's definitely gonna be an interesting race. We come back last season at Barcelona. This is a very interesting track where we have some interesting passing spots, but at the same time with the aero package running with this car, it's gonna be very tough on the drivers and the tires as we are already halfway through qualifying with Joe Cortese in the lead.
Yep, Gio Cortez leading out the field, currently followed by Alfredo Malo and Greg Olson. Now remember, this is the early parts qualifying. We just passed halfway, and some of our drivers have not put in a time yet. 19 cars on the field today, and you know, looking very good and looking like a very good race all around, because look at the times right now. The top 10 all within 0.6 of each other. That's incredibly close.
Absolutely. Most of the drivers are already about to finish the second lap. Some just starting. One of the latest driver starting the qualifying laps is JJ Pinsker, so we expect him to be very fast as Greg Olson improves his lap times and puts himself right now in second position, and Alfredo Malo first place.
Alfredo just sniped it from him.
Look at that, 4/10.
Oh, Campos is off the track, coming into the final section of Sector 3. Now, we are on the Grand Prix circuit, so that chicane is there. And, you know, a few of the drivers we were talking to last week after Spa, they were in preferred of the chicane because it gives you that extra technical ability. So, you know, it's not loved by fans for racing, but driving, it's pretty fun. And it might break up the track, but, you know, can't blame them for liking a part of the circuit that really challenges you.
Yeah, I think we should put this question also to the drivers after the race, especially if someone starts flying on that yellow sausage curves. They will be very happy to be racing on that version of the track.
Indeed. Unless you're the one being sent out. Looking at Ollie Qualka right now. He's currently sitting in 11th place, the number 10 car. He's got the 93 on the side, so he usually runs the 93, but today he's running the 10. Gotta love some people with custom numbers and a little bit of flair on there.
Oh yeah, for sure. You always need some spicy livery, interesting liveries are highly appreciated.
I really like his livery, the way it just... It's got that normal feel to it, but it's got that extra spicy feel. One side of it's yellow, one side of it's black. Just breaking through the white barrier, which is just very cool. The white base of it. As Qualka comes across the line, puts himself into 10th place. 10th car in 10th.
Yeah, good qualifying effort. We have still a few drivers on track. The only one really having to do a very good lap time is JJ Pinsker and Yata Saga. The others are just turning a few laps to get the feel of the track. Let's see if James will improve after scoring an unusual pole position at Spa.
Well, it was his first pole position last time by, and his third win in the Formula 3.5 Championship broadcast. James comes across the line. He goes up into 8th place.
It's gonna have definitely to work for it today if he wants to get another great result, as Zaga is struggling a little bit, decides to stop his second flying lap, so I think this is pretty much it.
Yeah, it is. I believe he got it off track or something. Maybe a cut course, because that was very early into his lap where he stopped the car. So Hayate Saga not going to be taking a qualifying time. So we have 18 cars qualify for this race, and then Hayata Saga at the back of the grid. And oh man, it's gonna be a very entertaining race here today. Looking at the field, just and qualifying, everybody is so close to each other right now.
Absolutely, a lot of familiar faces, a few new names, and some interesting returns to the series, like Simone Pizzica. So, for sure, we expect another great evening of racing here at Barcelona.
And it's another new name on top of pole position. It's Alfredo Malo going to be starting up on pole, followed by Greg Olson, Gio Cortez, Edward Samborski, Fabio De Carmo, Daniel Campos, Simone Pizzica, James Pinsker, Paul Ilbrink, Rob Crouch, Ali Kwaka, Andreas Ferez Lite in 12th place. Behind them in 13th is Yuki Shirakawa, Ino Jean, Masafumi Aburame, James Bird, Jamie Bird, Daniel Gallus, and Hayata Saga. As that Japanese presence is getting even more present on this grid, as everyone's lined up and getting ready to go. And whew, I'm excited for this race.
For sure, absolutely. We are always excited for this double header of formulas on Saturday here on Apex Racing TV. F3 was definitely very interesting, although we had a huge wreck at the start of the race. Hopefully we can get through the opening corners without any issues here in Spain, unlike in Japan earlier, as almost all the drivers are already positioned in their correct grid. Only Cortez, Pizzica, Pinsker, and Ilbrink are joining lately. Hopefully Paul gets a nice race today, because he's having a rough time.
His luck has just been absolutely not there with him. Taking on lap 1 of Spa, Simone Pizzica, well, he's back here, so everyone's a bit scared of him, but he'll be starting back behind him. Lights are coming on here at Formula 3.5. It's time to get ready to rumble, and let's go race it here in Spain. And what a start by Greg Olson, immediately beside of Malo, but Malo gets a better start because he enabled DRS immediately off the line, and Malo's going to lead it into turn 1, followed by Olsen right behind him. Olsen, we're going to do it! And comes across straight into a few other cars. We got 3 cars for the gravel trap as well. It's Malo, Andreas Ferris, Rob Crouch, and Hayata Saga, and Simone Pizzica is off.
Oh boy, that turn 1, that looked not really good. This gave obviously Greg Olson the leadership of the race, and Samborski also making up a few places. Cortez losing out now in 5th, fighting with James J. Pinsker, profiting for all these mistakes, people dropping down the order, already up 4 position in this opening lap.
Yeah, great start by James Pinsker. He also benefited from that carnage from the start, as Fabio De Carmo and Paul Ilbrink looking at each other. But look at Gio Cortez down the inside of James Pinsker.
Great pass by Cortez. Now driver will try to find their place, their pace.
Fabio's had an issue. Fabio's had an issue. Yeah. He's falling down the field.
Probably a slowdown. Someone going very wide. This is very tough. Versa hitting the curb.
A big sausage curb hit for Fabio De Carmo. I think Simone Pizzica has massive side pod damage as well. When we saw his car just briefly, it looked like he had massive side pod damage on the left-hand side of his car. And there he goes into the pit lane. That was a big hit. Everyone had the start, and that really broke up the field now.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely changed a lot of the outcome from the start. Pizzica, Ferrelete, and Malo on pit road. Malo is out of the race. Pizzica and Ferrelete will probably continue, but will be definitely out of contention for any top 5.
Bit of a lockup for Gio Cortez. James Pinsker just riding on his gearbox, and right behind him, Paul Ilbrink, who is looking for a good result here today. And James needs to catch up to Samborski, because he is actually in the championship fight with Samborski.
Yeah, for sure. Now that we are approaching the last few races of the season, we will also have to keep in mind a little bit the situation with points and the drop weeks for the title, which is definitely always very, very important for these drivers.
feels that in his car right now. He's probably going to pull it off and retire. Very unfortunate for Smoke. He's good right there.
Yeah, definitely not the return he wanted to the series, as Docarmo is trying to bounce back from a few issues in lap 1 behind the 2 Japanese drivers, 2 of 3 Japanese drivers. Always nice to have even more drivers from Japan. We also know that it's not a favorable hour for them. Very early morning.
And we do have a Korean driver as well. Jean's made his return back. And speaking of Jean, around the outside of Jamie Byrne. He just did. And right behind him, Hayate Saga's looking to make a move on Byrne on the straight.
This is the biggest passing zone on the track. This is a big slipstream, and the DRS definitely helping the drivers following, as Masafuma Burame is still trying to make himself very wide to not let Fabio Docarmo by for 9th place.
Yeah, Masafumi trying to hold Fabio off and stay in the top 9. This is a fight for 9th place between these two. Masafumi has had a good run of races throughout the season so far, and looking to continue that. He's slowly making his way up through the entire top 10. He's looking to move from Fabio Docarmo down the inside. A little bit deep of a send. He goes wide. There comes Masafumi Aburame down the inside off the switch map, but now he's going to be stuck on the outside through this long right-hander. And Fabio Docarmo is going to be taking 9th place. Gets off into a little bit of the gravel right there, heading into the final sector as they head into this tricky chicane. This is going to line up Masafumi up for a good run. If he just stays in that draft, but Fabio is so quick through there. Already 7/10 ahead of Masafumi.
Yeah, look how much of a gap Fabio Docarmo built exiting that tight corner. It's absolutely insane.
Hey, he's got great racecraft, and Asaga's looking down the inside of Jamie Byrne. Gets a little bit loose off the exit, and they might have touched right there.
And
that's going to be serving a slowdown penalty for that, so he's staying down to the inside of the track, and well, he's got a little bit of company behind him, but yeah, he is lifting off and just trying to serve that penalty within 35 seconds.
Absolutely great battle between these people. You see how respectful these drivers are. Also Burame earlier giving Docarmo plenty of space, knowing also that iRacing sometimes cannot really help drivers from opposite part of the world when they are in a tight battle. They always try to...
example, lap 1.
Absolutely, try to give themselves as much racing room as possible. Obviously, though, you are here for fighting and racing, trying to get the best outcome possible. You cannot think always about that. But look at this train of drivers, from Greg Olson to Olli Kuoka, from 1st to 7th, pretty much all in a single line. All together.
On a single line, just staying in their draft and trying to stay with the car ahead. Greg Olson and Samborski last time by, their laps were nearly identical, with Olson just gaining a little bit of time on Samborski.
This group definitely looking very strong. Behind Shiakawa and Docarmo are already 3 seconds behind, so it's gonna be very, very difficult for them to catch back. But we expect for sure something out of this group, even though you know that Barcelona usually provides this kind of racing. That was a close call.
That was scary. And that's great if you're Olli Kuoka, who's right on the gearbox now of the 4 of Paul Ilbrink. And now we got a good fight for 6th place after that scary moment by Paul Ilbrink where he just got onto the curb and we just saw that back end just get a little bit loose. Up here in the battle for 3rd, Gio Cortez is dancing on Campos, and he needs to get going because James J. Pinsker is right on his tail as well.
Absolutely. But to be fair, for Paul, it's already a little improvement in respect of the previous weeks. At least he's still in the race after 7 laps. Hopefully he can now trail back James J. Pinsker in front, but Ollie Kwok is looking very, very dangerous in Paul's mirror. Probably will try something, but it's very difficult, Austin, to make a pass. The dirty air, the way the car works, is not really, indeed, is definitely not working in favor of a great spectacle, a great passings and battles, classic choo-choo train, as Marco likes to call.
It indeed turns into a train from time to time again, and there are so many factors that go into it. The higher you go up with the cars with downforce, the more difficult it is to follow, and the more risky you're going to have to be with a few moves, because especially here at Barcelona, the track's just broken up into these many corners, medium speed corners, and then the low speed corners that just take away all downforce for you, especially coming out of that final corner. You're operating on such little downforce, can't really just stay with them, and that chicane is very slow. Heading into that final corner just breaks all momentum heading down that front straight, so you're really gonna have to be using DRS to get a advantage on that straight to make the overtake.
Here we had an attempt of an overtake or a mistake, because this driver lost 2 seconds in this tight section.
Too much speed going into there and into the back, and
I think there was still a gap between the 2 cars also in this occasion, but thankfully they both managed to get away with it without having particular issues, apart from losing some valuable track time. Aburame indeed behind, catching them very fast. Here you can see the fastest lap of every driver. Paul Ibring with the fastest lap of the race so far, 29.7, the only driver below the wall of the 130.
Paul Ilbrink. Well, we know what happens when he can survive the first few laps of the race. He can start putting down some amazing laps, and now he's just going to be chasing down the field. But somebody who is always up there, no matter what, that'll be Edward Samborski, and he is laser focused and happy right now. Half a second within Greg Olson, and he's looking to take the win of this race here and take the fight to James in the standings.
Absolutely.
Well, he's currently leading the championship, so the American definitely feeling good about that. But hey, something you want to feel better about is the win. And when you're half a second within the leader here at Barcelona and you're going to stay within that time, it's going to be very good. Here comes Fabio De Carmo on Yuki Shirakawa. Down the inside they go.
Looking very good this time for De Carmo, having the inside, but
Shirakawa, what a move by Shirakawa, held it around the outside right there. They're going to be side by side heading into turn 3.
It's not
Still
over.
Side. Shirakawa is doing a great defensive drive.
Still
side by side. Fabio trying to hold it around the outside. Shirakawa down the inside. Side by side, there it goes. Still side by side out the end, but Fabio's going to have the speed coming out of that corner. And Fabio De Carmo, after 5 quarters of trouble, finally gets past Yuki Shirakawa. And that fight has really closed them up to Masufumi Aburame and James Byrne right behind him, and Ino Jean.
Great battles all over. We have these 2 big groups now forming, from P1 to P7, and then from De Carmo to Jean. They are all together. So great battles, even though the track is not really helping much. But these drivers are always providing a great show. Whenever we race different tracks, different layout for conformation of the tracks, we always have great battles anywhere.
Yeah, the Formula 3.5 car, very good for battles, even with a little bit of dirty air, but especially here on these grade 1 tracks, you're always going to have a good battle, and always the best SOF here on iRacing, I always say. And speaking of SOF, what is the SOF today? 4.5K.
Yeah, a little bit lower compared to the last week, but still, definitely the field is remarkable. But we have a few drivers with still some damage on their car after that incident in the opening lap. As we have still also Greg Olson leading, Samborski in a sandwich in between the two positive sim racing cars of Olson and Campos, and Cortese there that unfortunately couldn't really get a decent start. Lost a position on Pinsker, but got it back immediately. But after a few laps, couldn't make anything happen anymore. They are all following each other now in a train, saving probably some.
Cortez new fastest lap of the race, 129.749, as they race it down into turn 1 in the draft. Everyone else. That draft helps speed you up, but you can't get too close or else you're going to be affected by that dirty air. And it's kind of that pocket. You need to get a bit closer to negate some of that effect. But you can see Cortez, he's kind of in that bubble, 1.5 seconds to 1 second behind the car. You're really in that big dead zone behind the car in front of you. And if you get a little bit closer, it's actually much nicer, as that was Campos up ahead of him, getting that lockup heading into that tricky left-hander.
Yeah, whenever you get closer than these, you start to really have to fight the car, and the dirty air becomes even more complicated, and especially this fast corner could be very, very tricky. We've seen drivers go all the way on the gravel and do their rally cross joker lap. With
the rallycross joker lap, not really a part of Formula 3.5 racing, but there is a rallycross track in iRacing right here that will be turned official in a future update this year.
Soon.
Hashtag soon. Insert the clock image in our bottom left marker.
Indeed. It's always soon.
Yes, on cue. Also want to say hello, Mr. Ali in chat.
Oh yeah, nice to see Erwin back in our chat. As here up front, the field is always looking very strong, as we have a pass between Byrne and Abu Rame for 10th place.
That was a look by Byrne, and he's got 10th place now, but Masafumi, well, you don't want to. We know Matsufumi is not afraid to send it into a few quarters, so we're halfway into this race now.
Oh yeah, sure. The race has been flying by as per usual, already halfway through. So we might see some drivers starting to pick up some pace, some maybe losing some pace in this part of the race, since we have a bit of tire, I think, on this track, if I don't remember wrong.
Yeah, tires go away here pretty fast. It's a pretty abrasive track.
So, especially for these drivers following Greg Olson so closely, it's gonna be an issue, as Cortez is very, very close to Campos. I think Campos will have to use his DRS this time to make sure to not get past.
Yeah, Campos actually using DRS to stay ahead of Gio Cortez and just to stay with Samborski as we enter halfway through. And here's a replay of Jamie Byrne. He's behind. Ooh, that was a saga right there, and just a little bit of a late break, and he lost a lot of time for there. So we go back live. We got a battle for 13th. Actually, 14. That's Rob Crouch and Jamie Byrne now. Crouch managing to get around Jamie.
Yeah, great battles overall. Rob Crouch, one of the guys involved in the wreck, and elected to stay out and not go change the front wing. So a defensive race for him, trying to not lose even more positions, but Jamie Byrne and Galiz are still very close, so his 14th place doesn't look very safe. As we have a crash, Campos is dropping down the order.
Campos, no! Campos into the wall.
We are in the...
A snapper oversteer. I think he caught it and the wheels just gripped up, overcorrection, and well, I feel like we're going to see that tail end back out right there. Yep, there's tail end that caught it, and unfortunately into the wall, and you know,
looked like quite a...
It's a tail hit.
Just a little bit of a hit, not too much for Campos, so I think the car should be fine to continue. Definitely
I
not
don't
a lot
believe
of
he's got
valuable
any
time.
damage. He's just damaged a little bit grip off his tires and well, confidence into that corner.
So in the end, yes, he will be not happy, but at the same time, it's not a race over. So he can bounce back. Locarmo is right in front of him, less than 2 seconds. So P7 is realistically still within reach. More I doubt, because the gap between Locarmo and Quokka is 6 seconds, and the pace obviously of the leading cars is extremely fast.
Yeah, that pace is outer worldly at sometimes. As we ride on board, you know, Jean, Korean driver, right behind Matsufumi Aburame, one of our many Japanese drivers in this grid. 3 of them, and man, to see them participate in this SLF, it just brings a smile on my face.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with that. He's very nice.
Very active in the forums too. Ever since day one, he posted into the forums that he and a few other Japanese drivers were going to be hopping in and to the 3.5, and they've been competitive from the start, and he's been very active, very friendly guy, and he also streams his racing on YouTube as well.
Yeah, and also if you want to be competitive, at least have a chance to be competitive with these great guys, try to make a top split in Formula 3.5. As many other series, you can check the Apex Racing Academy, one of our sponsors, with 29 data packs. As we have someone with issues,
Ilbrink.
Let's see if we can get the replay before we...
Same corner, remember that time? This is the hardest corner to get right. If you just get into that curb on entry, there it is. Big slide and onto the other side of the yellow sausage skirts. But, you know, getting back, not any car damage that I can see on that car.
Yeah, definitely. Paul had a big moment, but he's still racing there. So it's right as Campos is dropping down the order again. I wonder if he had any issues. He just disappeared. Maybe some technical issues.
Internet.
You hate to see it. Already have a tough evening. And now all work will be out of the window for this disconnection. So, I was about to say about the Apex Racing Academy. So if you want some bases setups to start with in the Formula 3.5 and many other series in iRacing, 29 data packs, setups, track guides, weekly group sessions, now also one-on-one coaching sessions, but mostly also integrated with VRS, so you can have everything on one platform. VRS, 50 plus data packs, also oval, dirt racing, rally cross, plenty of options for you to choose from, and also, least but not last, We have last but not least, sorry, SDK Gaming for your virtual ads to iRacing stream to your Twitch channel, broadcast your rig races, or just adjust your strategy on the fly. Go check them out at sdkgaming.co.uk.
Yeah, but also good part for the Apex Racing Academy. It is integrated with VRS as well. So, you know, great deal right there. As we got a few more laps left for us here in Spain, and a few good battles throughout the track. As Jane Byrne and Yuki Shirakawa swap spots, and whoa, Hino goes off into the grass when following Masafumi Aburame, trying to get a good run up here. But speaking of a good run, Burns got a great run on Yuki Shirakawa, but Shirakawa just standing in that gearbox. He's looking down the inside.
And looking very, very decisive, Yuki Shirakawa, to make a pass for 8th place on James Byrne. This guy profiting from some tough times for drivers in front, making up a few positions in the order. Unfortunately, Campos now definitely out of contention for any position. I don't think he will be even on track anymore after this issue. And some drivers losing out after the opening lap crash. But look at this gap, Austin. Also opening.
Has it grown a lot? Yeah, slight gap. Lap 16, not the best of Samborski, but each lap it's about 100 here, 100 there. It's slowly being chiseled into by Greg, and Samborski needs to get a move on, but Samborski also has to worry about Gio Cortez right behind him, and that just might be slowing Samborski down just a little bit on top of the dirty air, on top of the worn tires, on top of the high temperature. So it's a bit tricky for Samborski. He can now start using DRS because we're starting to close in on 8 laps to go, though.
Yeah, for sure. Now this driver will have to step up their game if they want to try at least to pass Greg Olson, who looks very, very confident up front. But we also need to keep an eye on these midfield battles, because everywhere we look we have a battle ongoing or about to get started at least. So always very busy, our production man Marco doesn't know really where to look.
Hey, this is just a warm-up for Sunday's race in the IGP Fun Series. If you want to see, not confused on where to look, imagine this track over 60 F3 cars.
Yeah, hopefully you don't see a car going backwards into the wall like someone did in the last time. Yeah.
Like you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want me to send in that clip? Because I did save it, by the way.
You should cancel it. I didn't give you permission to keep it on your computer.
Yeah, you raced in the iRacing F3 the IGP Fun F3 series on Apex Racing TV. You're technically already in there, so. You know, at the end of this year, I should just have an Alessandro Dalladone IGP Fun fail clip.
If you want to post all my fake clips, I don't think an hour will be enough. I bet iRacing will also have plenty from all the protests I received against me in the past 5 or 6 years. But let's go back to this race, which is more important than my previous life as a professional iRacer.
Yeah, now we're just being I-wrecked, especially in endurance races. As Samborski still ahead of Gio Cortez, 9/10 behind Olsen, and that gap still getting a little bit higher, but Samborski with a great exit coming out of that chicane, pulled a lot of gap back to Olsen, and he's opened up DRS now. He's going to start trying to make a big move on Olsen's time. Already within 7/10, and that DRS helping him a lot. But last time by, 400ths of a second, still behind of Olsen.
These guys definitely using all the DRS available. They haven't really used them much apart from defending positions in the middle part of the race. So now who will have more will definitely have an advantage on the other drivers, as Pincer is now the last man standing in line in this leading group, as Oli Cuoca lost a few seconds and is now still battling with Paul Hilbrink for 5th. Doesn't look any particular threat coming from the guys behind for Greg Olson or neither Samborski. Everyone maintaining some distance. Some more issues for Hilbrink.
That's probably just a big wiggle right there. Oversteer lockup, caught it, and the back end still trying to fight him. And Hilbrink's just locking her down and making sure she's not trying to run away on him. You know, Valentine's Day is around the corner.
Yeah, this new tire model, I keep saying new, but this is a particular tire model for the Formula 3.5. Once you start sliding, the tires are so hot, even if you put down the power, the car literally is a wild horse. You can't...
Especially if you locked it up and heated and spun up the tires just a little bit. And you need to take a while to get those tires settled back down.
Pretty much every car with some interesting power, you need to be very, very careful once you start sliding the tires, and it's very difficult then also to make sure that the temperature drops in the tire, because otherwise you risk easily to overdrive and find yourself pointing in the wrong direction.
Indeed. As Olsen 8/10 still ahead of Samborski. Samborski's been closing in on Olsen now, because I believe Gio Cortez does not have any DRS uses left in his arsenal, and Samborski likes to keep it to the end of this race, and Samborski's just a second behind of Olsen now.
3 laps left, so if these guys want to make something happen, they need to do it now, as Greg Olson still in command of this race. He got P1 the opening lap and never left it for the entire race, so definitely a very good race for Greg Olson. And also from all these guys up front, keeping it clean, not making mistakes has been key for this race, as we've seen drivers just overcorrecting a little bit the car, losing very important track time. Any mistake is you pay the price for it, especially at this level.
Indeed, and that price is sometimes extremely high and sometimes a little bit minuscule, because the Formula 3.5 car is probably the toughest single-seater car on iRacing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Also, it's the only real car without the new damage model. Nope, wait, nope. The Formula 2.0 doesn't have it as well. One of
not a lot.
real-life single-seater cars that don't have the new damage model. Notice I said real cars. iRacing, that thing doesn't have a damage model under. That thing just bounces.
Real cars that are not used anymore in real life.
Yeah.
Pretty much. 2 laps left, less than 2 laps left. Doesn't look any threat coming from these guys. They're pretty much spread out. Will probably
Samborski
take a
came 10th
mistake.
out of there.
If he closes the gap a little bit and has one DRS more than Olson, but I doubt Greg will be out of DRSs. Usually he's very, very smart to maintain at least one of
Samborski's
the
still gaining
defense.
time. Samborski not using DRS. He was a little bit short. I think he's waiting for that last lap magic right there. And maybe something happened to Greg because the heat on the track right now is a little bit toasty. Wish it would be even, and might be affecting their tires just a little bit.
Yeah, but still, being up front, he shouldn't have many issues since he's been in clean air all day. The other drivers been always in that dreadful range where you have a lot of dirty air and still you are not too far off. The car in front will be struggling even more as Joe Cortese set the new fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, Cortez is pushing it now, but he's just a little bit too far back on Samborski to make that move. White flag in the air as they go underneath the bridge, heading into turn 4.
We know that when we come at Barcelona, we get some exciting.
That's Crouch.
Struggling all race long, unfortunately,
Final
after
corner.
that mistake.
Coming out of the chicane, he might have hit that sausage curb, but he's already struggled with front wing damage. And, well, sausage on the exit, and, well, he tried to grind that rail, and it's not going to be working for him. That sausage curb's so high.
Yeah. Not much Rob can really do. The car is not in a very good position, to be fair, today.
Yeah. You know, we usually say too much mustard this corner. It has to be too much sausages right there. As Olsen, 3 quarters to go, 2 quarters to go, 1 quarter to go. Ladies and gentlemen, your winner here at Barcelona for the iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship, it is Greg Olsen.
Great driver, Greg, and all these guys. Extremely close racing. Either you love it or you hate it. I hate this track because it doesn't really provide a lot of passing opportunities. But this guy made this race anyway. Definitely very, very interesting. As
Definitely a very interesting race. A little bit of trains here and there, but that's just top level racing. Everyone just knows the track and not really giving up a lot of spots to make mistakes, and they'll provide an advantage to either of the drivers as everyone's coming across the line right now. And that is Andreas Ferrazlete across the line, as here are your results here today. Greg Olsen takes the win, followed by Edward Samborski, Gio Cortez, James Peace, Ali Kwaka, Fabio DeCarmo, Paul Ilbrink, James Bird, Yuki Shirakawa, Ito Jean, Masafumi Aburame, Hatia Saga, James Bird, Daniel Gass, Rob Crouch, Andreas Ferrazlete, Daniel Campos, Simone Pizzico, and Alfredo Malo. Unfortunately taken out the start of this race by the largest bit of netcode I have ever seen.
Definitely was a sizable netcode. There are no doubts that was a netcode.
Just fit an entire ship, and there
Well,
was.
I've seen some even worse recently, where I don't really want to keep on going with this because obviously it's part of racing. You always have issues in real life with the car or something breaking, and online racing has its own particular things that can happen, like technical faults, might be the wheel, or maybe connection drop, or this kind of random events, let's call it.
A random dog named Wendy running into your room while hopping onto your lap while you're going around a corner, making you jerk the wheel left and into the wall.
A monitor falling down the beautiful IKEA desk. Yeah. Anything.
Well,
So,
as we wait for a few of our drivers to hop into the waiting area for the interview, um, how you feeling about the upcoming races today?
well,
Upcoming races scheduled.
it's definitely gonna be an interesting schedule. We know that racing likes to mix things up, so I'm definitely looking forward for the next event. Next week we are heading to Imola, one of the iconic tracks on the calendar. Another track where we will meet the beautiful sausage curbs.
Monza.
Racing then Monza, yeah, another great combination, double Italian meeting, and we round up at Interlagos, visiting the famous Barrichello's Gramma quartier of Carlos Pace. So we will have different tracks, but for sure we will see same guys fighting for the win. Hopefully some new drivers joining. We've seen some drivers this season, Austin, coming in for a few races, partial schedules, like Ben Fuller joining a few races. Now not here today. A lot of very fast drivers joining us.
And as we speaking of winners, we are joined by Greg Olson. Greg, how was that race? And you want to talk us through what happened on lap 1 with probably the worst netcode I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but I mean, I knew before the race that my ping was quite high, so I feel terrible. I should have taken. I guess I'm just thinking of what I could have done differently, like braking a little bit earlier and whatnot. Yeah, basically, I knew Alfredo had. I mean, you saw his pole lap; it was incredible. It was so much quicker. So I was just planning on sitting in behind him and waiting for him to build a gap to me, you know, because I didn't want the dirty air. So, yeah, I don't know. I just thought I'd file in behind him, and he caught. I think I broke a little bit too late. I tried to get out of it, but yeah, unfortunately, it was gigantic netcode. I'm not sure what server we're on. That might have had something to do with it. I should ask Rob what his ping was. But yeah, I'm just really sorry to Alfredo for the contact at the start.
Well, it was a good race by you. It's another win for you. Next week we're headed to Imola. So how are you feeling about that track, and how does that compare to Barcelona and its similarities and differences?
Oh, I love Imola. I do like driving Barcelona as well, but I think Imola is a little bit more raceable. I really like the layout at Imola. It's a super challenging track, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's a lot harder to drive than Barcelona, I would say. It doesn't have this weird surface that Barcelona has, where you kind of slide everywhere. But yeah, it's just a matter of attacking the curbs and getting good exits. The Variante Alta is really tough, and it's really difficult to minimize mistakes at Imola, and you really need to, because it is possible to pass there, unlike here.
All right. Well, before let's go to enjoy the rest of your day, anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, just like to thank Positive Sim Racing, Tim, for the setup. It's the exact same setup we ran at Barcelona last season, even though it was the historic layout. So really, really well built setup, you know, really adaptable. But yeah, just the rest of the team, you know, Daniel Campos, Jose, they've been doing really well in DPC. It was a shame to see that Daniel crashed out today. I'll have to check what happened to him. Javier, Lubomir, Manuel, and all the rest of the team. And as always, to you guys for the broadcast.
All right. Thank you, Greg. You have yourself a good day, and we're going to head it over to Alessandro, who is standing by with Mr. Eddie Samborski.
Yes, let's bring Eddie in. Eddie, nice to have you back in the booth. Good race. Definitely not the best track for passing opportunities. We had a nice train today, but at the same time, a nice race from you.
Yeah, back to the old habits, following the PSR guys around. Yeah, you know what? I really felt terrible all week trying to adjust to the track for some reason. I don't know why. I've recently changed wheelbases, so I've been a little off, and it doesn't show, but I drove above my head 24 laps out of 24 laps because I was holding on for dear life. I mean, you probably couldn't tell from the outside, but man, I was counting the laps down. I was like, come on, get me out of here, you know?
Yeah, this track, some drivers really like it. Some drivers don't really love it, like me, for example. You don't really get that chances to make a pass, especially with this car where you have such dirty air and not such a strong draft without the DRS.
Yeah, I mean, I like lapping, but it's a completely different race if you're in P2 on back compared to being out front. And I mean, if you're out front, the race is great. You know, you don't have to deal with the ill-handling car. You're not trying to find tenths every spot to try and make up ground. And there comes a point in time where you kind of feel like it's worthless to try to go fast because then you might make a mistake and lose time. So for a racing standpoint, it's not ideal, especially in this car. But I think that's more of this car issue, or cars with high downforce and who don't have 1,000 horsepower on hand to be able to push themselves through the air as well. But I mean, hopefully it was at least fun to watch, right?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. We loved it in the booth and also in the chat. What are your opinions on the last 3 races of the championship, Imola, Monza, and Autodromo de Carlos Pace? You have big chances to get the title, so hopefully 3 strong tracks.
I am just trying to get solid points and not do anything stupid. I have a habit of crashing out at Monza, so that's priority number 1 will be to drive a lot of laps and make sure I don't do that. And then as far as the championship, it's a lot closer than what it is on paper. James has had some really strong finishes, and I know he's sitting on one pretty awful finish. So if you take out that awful finish, I'm almost certain he's actually ahead of me right now. So it's all I can do is do my best and hope for the best, because it's going to be really close. I hope, man, I hope. But that's all you can do.
We certainly hope too. We want to see you battling till the last race of the season. Anyone you would like to thank before we let you go, Eddie?
I'd like to thank the people that have donated to the broadcast so far. I've been pretty quiet about it. Not silently, but some people may know, some may not. I took over organizing it from Greg. He did a great job. Got to commend him on that. So I'd like to thank everyone that's donated. Everyone really seems to enjoy the broadcast. Thank you guys for doing it. And then I'll give a quick shout out to VRS for producing one of the most affordable direct drive wheelbases. And that's it.
Well, thank you very much, Eddie. Hope to see you back next week at Imola.
Thank you. I'll try not to do anything stupid so I can be up here.
So, Austin, I think we have time for one more. Let's bring in James for the final interview of the evening.
Yep, James is not a podium finish to continue on the streak, and but it's a good 4th place. And how was this race, man?
Well, I'm just gonna say, for everyone watching the stream, I bet this race to watch probably wasn't as entertaining as it was from like the driver's position, because you had 5, 6, 7, 8 cars in this train at the front, and we're all sweating to set these lap times, and we're all very similar on pace, very intense, keeping up with these guys, very strong field. It's just really a shame the track layout is a bit crap, really, to be honest. Barcelona, not really many overtaking opportunities, and dirty air can get quite bad. So yeah, that was a bit of a shame. But in terms of the actual race battle, the battle we were having in terms of looking at the lap times, very close field, and I'm happy to get 4th, really. Pretty nice.
Well, it's a good race for you, especially if you're happy with that result. Top 5 in this, up 4 spots. That start crash, you were kind of in the middle of it. I was trying to avoid that.
I mean, I need to rewatch this. on my game, but I was looking in the mirror going through turn 2, and I don't know. Oh, when I rewatch it, they weren't quite as close. But in the mirror, it literally felt like they were like 5 inches away, maybe, like right on my rear wing. That crash. I felt so lucky when I escaped that and got through, and I got up to 4th, obviously from that as well, which helped my race. And then yeah, and then from there I let Gio through because he was looking very racy behind me, so I just let him go, and he was quick. Probably the right decision not to battle him too hard. And then yeah, from there I didn't really have much else to play for in terms of overtaking. I just sat behind 8-9 tenths to the guys in front. And who was it that crashed? Oh, it was Daniel, I think, who crashed it from in front, which gave me a freebie. So yeah, I mean, from 8th place to finish 4th sounds better than maybe it is, considering it was just 4 people crashed in front of me. But then again, everyone was such a similar pace today. I can't really complain. And also, I should say, like, from this week, from the races I did, I've been having a lot of crashes. I mean, I think I did 2 races in the last 2 days, and I had 9 spins across those races. It's been horrible. So just to complete a race at this track, which is very demanding on the tyres, and I wasn't that confident in my setup or my pace, really, just to be able to complete a race and complete it quite well as well. I'm happy.
Well, being happy is probably the best part of it. Before we let you go and have a great rest of your day, anyone you want to thank?
You ask me this every time. No, you're never gonna
Kind of
get
have to.
Yeah, you're never gonna get a very contentious answer from me. I don't know. Anyone from the race that I wanted to thank? Not really. I don't really battle anyone, so I can't really thank anyone from who I battled. I congratulate Greg on his win. He was pretty quick today. Yeah. And also Apex Racing TV for the broadcast. I haven't watched it, and I probably won't watch it, to be honest, because there wasn't any overtaking. But that's not your fault. That's not your fault. So
That's Barcelona.
yeah. That's
Hopefully you'll be watching Imola next week and all that stuff.
Yeah, Imola. I mean Imola. Yeah, we should see some more passes in Imola. So you guys can look forward to that. Woohoo.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week over at Imola. Thank you, James, for joining us in the booth. Over to Alessandro with a few closing thoughts.
Well, definitely not the most appreciated track in the schedule by the drivers, I think. We will move to better tracks coming from next week. A double in Italy, which from our perspective, Italians, Marco and I will be absolutely happy of bringing to you here on Apex Racing TV, as we love our Italian tracks.
We certainly do. I feel a slight bias over here, but yes, they are some good tracks. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here on Apex Racing TV here for the iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Next week, it's over at Imola. I've been joined by Alessandro Dalladone. Marco Barbanera has been the wonderful guy in the production booth. I'm Austin Knight, and I hope y'all have a good night.